Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 34 of the Wulong Talks podcast. My name's Jason. I'm your host as always, and I'm here and I'm feeling good. Hope you guys are feeling good too. As usual, I'm joined by the crew. We've got the Man Geek up north. Say what's up.
What's up?
Cool. And we've got the Wrestling Kid, Rich Reviews down south. Say what's up, bro.
Hello.
Cool. Well, it's been a little while, listeners. So thanks for sticking around with us. Hopefully, you've been checking out some of the other podcasts and things like that as well. We have joined a new podcast network, which I'll tell you a little bit more about towards the end of the show as well. So I'll give you some more details about that coming up. But first of all, boys, how you been, man? Since we last recorded, have you been up to anything fun, geeky? Have you checked out any trailers? Have you been playing any new games, anything like that?
I got a new TV.
Oh yeah, that's right, you did. Yes.
Yeah, got a new TV for my birthday, so I'm happy with that. And
it's funny.
yeah,
I was gonna bring up birthdays at the end, but of course, Richard being Richard, he had to bring it up immediately at the beginning of the show.
Textbook narcissism. I'll fucking take that. So I got a new TV. I haven't even had a chance to even fiddle around with it, to be honest.
And you
So
got
I'm
a
gonna do that
Panasonic,
at some point this weekend.
you got a Panasonic 4K one, right?
Yeah. Panasonic 4K. I think it's like
Okay, you better take advantage of those extra Ks, man.
Yeah, I think it's like 60 inch, 50 inch. I don't know. It's big. All I know is it's big. All I know is that at some point tonight, when I get off the phone from you guys, I might have might do something to enhance my, enhance my senses like Daredevil, and maybe like whack on like Destiny or something and really feel like I'm there. And I'll maybe give you guys like a review next week.
Yeah, cool, man.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, cool. We're definitely down for some of that. So yeah, man, let us know how you're getting on with the TV and stuff. Big A, what's up with you, man? What you been up to?
Nothing really, nothing much. Just usual, innit? Like comics, movies, blah blah, all that. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh, you started reading the Doomsday Clock, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. You know what? I know it was really good. Like,
Okay.
literally, I wasn't expecting it to be that good, and then like started reading it, read the whole first issue, and I liked where it was going, and it is kind of so far. And I know it's a big task, but like a worthy successor to Watchmen. It really depends as to how good story remains. But yeah, at the moment, first issue, like I had to give it its props, even for like the super obvious Trump allegory stuff. Like even with that stuff in there, I was like, yeah, this is actually pretty good.
Cool. For the benefit of those who don't know, can you just explain a little bit about what the Doomsday Clock is about and how it kind of brings in the Watchmen and things like that?
Well, we essentially don't really know that much about it, other than it's to do mainly with the Watchmen universe and what appears to be a version of the DC universe, and them somehow kind of intertwining and being connected in some way, probably via Dr. Manhattan. And that's pretty much all we know to start off with. And now they're putting the pieces into place. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. Well, I've been around as well. I've been checking out some movies. I went to go and see Thor Ragnarok again. So I gave them a little bit of extra change. And I also checked out the Villainous on DVD, and I did a little review for it. Listeners, if you want to check that out, you can head over to our channel. You can go to either SoundCloud or iTunes or Acast and search for us on there. As you know, I like to do these little movie reviews every now and again. I've started off doing 3 of them so far, and they've been pretty well received as well, which is great. So thanks for your feedback on that. But yeah, I checked that movie out and I really, really enjoyed it. For a Korean action movie, it ticks all the right boxes in terms of the things that you want from a good Korean action movie. The plot is very dense, as you would expect again from a Korean movie. There's a lot of plot twists again, as you would expect from a Korean movie. And I've seen some people say that some of the plot twists left them a bit confused as to what was going on, because it does jump backwards and forwards in time a little bit as well. But if you pay attention to it, you can get what's going on. So all in all, I would say it's definitely worth checking out. But as I said, you can check out the review for that as well. That's on our channel. Yeah, so let's jump into it, man. We haven't recorded for a couple of days, as you know, listeners. That's to give everybody a chance to see, obviously, the massive release of Justice League, which came out last weekend. Hopefully by now everybody's seen it, so we're going to go into some deep spoilers with this. So if you haven't seen it yet, you may want to skip this episode and come back to it later when you've actually watched the movie. But yeah, we will go in deep with that one, so prepare yourselves for that. But first of all, let's get into some movie news. Now, I don't think there's been anything that major or that big that has been announced. I don't know if you guys have missed anything, but or have spotted anything that I missed, but I haven't really noticed anything apart from the story which broke. I guess it would have been yesterday, really. Well, no, it was sort of more late Tuesday was when the story broke, referring to Disney Marvel's upcoming version of Captain Marvel. They have an adaptation which is due to come out, I believe, in 2019. And they've made a big casting announcement in that Jude Law has joined the cast. Now, of all of us here at Oolong Talks, there's one person who would quite rightfully, quite happily give of his own life force to spend some time with Jude Law, and that's the Wrestling Kid, Rich Reviews. So, Rich Reviews, I'm going to leave this one up to you, son. If you want to take the stage and tell everybody why you love Jude Law so much, and also what you think of him being cast in his specific role. You can give a little bit of detail about the role as well. So, Rich, take it away, man.
Yeah, Jude Law, that pretty bastard. That's what he is, man. You pretty bastard. Yeah, no, like no, I'm a fan of Jude Law. I think he, to be honest, I think he reminds me of like, you know, like a good few years ago, like in the 2000s when everybody was just nice and happy. Like when we were younger, everyone was just kind of running around free, and you had like the whole music that wasn't really doing nothing, and films really weren't doing anything. And I think he's someone that has kind of come into his own as an actor as he's gotten older. Like he's someone that was more, a lot of his roles were more based on his looks. Because if you look at the beginning of his career, he put in quite a few performances in some of the films that he played in. So like films like Gattaca, which is actually a really, really good sci-fi, which I think is one of those sci-fis that broke the norm, like, and it's kind of been forgotten like that. It is a sci-fi that didn't have like pew pew laser guns or spaceships and shit. I mean, even like the bad films like the Sky Captain, the Captain of Tomorrow or whatever, like that was a decent film. I liked what it tried to do. But as he's, I mean, you know, then obviously he kind of got like had a bit of a rough turn in Hollywood, and then had to come back to the UK. And to be honest, the majority of the films that he's done since then have actually been pretty decent. And if he hasn't been good in them, it's generally just been because the film itself hasn't been that good. So, like for example, King Arthur is just not a good film, and I just don't think it was a role that was suited for him. To be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm kind of excited to see somebody that I actually don't mind watching on screen play basically my favorite cosmic character, which is Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah. I was just going to say if you could just confirm a bit which character he's playing as well.
Yeah. So basically Captain Marvel. There's a big like law story or like court story that happened between DC and Marvel in regards to the use of the name of Captain Marvel. As you guys know, or as some of you guys may know, the character of Shazam in DC was originally called Captain Marvel. And then basically Marvel came out with a character called Captain Marvel, and they actually ended up going to court. And Marvel won the case, and that's the reason why now Captain Marvel is now called Shazam. And to me, that's just karma, because originally the character of Captain Marvel belonged to a different comic books company, and it was actually sold better than the Superman comics, and DC took that company to court, and because they were a bit of a bigger company, they were able to win the case, and so they actually then bought the rights to Captain Marvel. So you know what, you reap what you sow, DC. And yeah, like basically the role of Captain Marvel in the Marvel universe is that he was the protector of the universe. He was a member of the Kree race who we've already seen in or seen and also heard mentioned in the Shield TV series, and you've seen him in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies as well. And he's just fucking awesome. And he's also the first character to have a graphic novel. So the first graphic novel to be released by Marvel was The Death of Captain Marvel, and it's basically considered one of the best, although you may not find it in the top 10, just for the simple fact that it takes a very, very human look at a character, and considering what the character's done, he doesn't die in like some big massive battle against Thanos, who is the first person that Thanos got defeated by, or against X, Y, and Z. He basically loses his fight against cancer, as in like the disease cancer. And it's a pretty heart wrenching story. So I definitely suggest anybody to go and pick it up. And before if anything, before they read that, maybe read the actual first mini series when Thanos actually gets introduced into the Marvel universe, and then he goes to battle with Captain Marvel and the Avengers. And that's probably his best work. But I'm really, really super excited to see how they're gonna deal with him in this film. And that was my biggest fear when I heard that Brie Larson had been cast as Captain Marvel. Not that she's not good, or not that I'm not a fan of Carol Danvers, but you can't have Captain Marvel without Captain Marvel. So you just take into account that his actual name is Marvel, so it's split into two. So Mar is his first name, and he's from the House of Vel. So if anything, think of it as like the same way how they treat the names on Krypton. But yeah, I can't wait. I've already got like my screenplay written in my head and things I'd like to see, and an XYZ. But as it gets closer, you guys, I love to talk, so I'm definitely gonna start spitting some theories and whatnot.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, definitely, as said, as the movie draws closer, we'll dive a little bit deeper into the lore as well. So, listeners, those of you who aren't familiar with the Captain Marvel character, the character of Carol Danvers and of Marvel as well, we'll dive a little bit more into that as the time comes. So that's definitely something we'll revisit. Alf, did you have any thoughts on the casting of Jude Law?
Honestly, no. Like literally, it got announced, and I just went, and then that was it. Because for me, I'm the kind of guy until the movie comes out, just because like I'm not asked until the movie comes out, and I see the trailer and I go, that looks sick or whatever. Well, I'll go and see it anyway because it's superhero shit, but whether it looks good or not. But I wasn't really. I have no fight in it. I'm just like, yeah, I'll see it, but I don't care though. But hopefully they made the right choice because they're really good at casting. So,
are you guys familiar with the character of Captain Marvel?
No, only in passing. I've never like read any of the original kind of Captain Marvel stuff now.
Oh yeah, I mean, okay. I'm vaguely familiar with Marvel. I know a little bit about his background, and I remember him appearing in the Infinity Quest, I think it was called, the original one. Was that the original one Jim Starlin did? Was it Infinity Quest? I think it was, wasn't it?
Which one? So when it shows Thanos going for the actual gems itself?
Yeah, well, not the recent Jonathan Hickman run, the one before that, the one from I think it was like the 80s, wasn't it, that it came out? So I remember him appearing in that run, but I didn't know a lot about like his history and like where he came from and stuff. A lot of it, honestly, I've picked up from talking to you about it. A lot of it, I don't really know that much about Marvel, but I'm looking forward to finding out. So yeah, should be interesting. With regards to Jude Law, well, good on him, man. Nice work if you can get it. Yeah, nice work if you can get it. Somebody actually pointed out. Sorry, go on, Rich.
No, I was gonna say, well, now he's kind of struck jackpot, hasn't he? Because now if this casting does go ahead, he's now part of like basically two franchises, because I think he's
that's what I was going to say.
Like oh, is that what you're going to say? Yeah, No, go ahead, man. I stole your thunder, man. I stole your Shazam. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I was just going to say, because obviously he's Dumbledore now in the Harry Potter franchises, as that rumbles on and expands. So he's got that role, and now he's going to be playing Marvel as well. So it's like, yeah, as you said, he's got two massively iconic roles on the bounce. So yeah, well done to him. Well played. I look forward to his take on it. I think for me, I think if they're going to play Marvel as somebody who's quite a regal character, and somebody who is imbued with a lot of power and wisdom, and can deliver that in a way that doesn't come off too smug and too, too kind of like uncomfortable for people to watch, and too overbearing. I think he's a good fit for that, because I think he can downplay very well. He does that very well in the Sherlock Holmes movies, where they kind of let RDJ do his thing, and he kind of downplays everything and is straight man to Robert Downey Jr.'s comic antics. So yeah, I think if he's gonna, if the character of Marvel is going to be written in that way, then yeah, he's definitely a good fit for that, I think. So yeah.
No, I definitely agree with you, and I think that's the reason why I was saying why I think he's maybe a good casting, because the smugness that he had when he was younger, like that is one of the reasons why he kind of like why Hollywood kind of said, well, listen, like you know you're good at this, and you know that you look like this. Well, listen, maybe that's a bit too much. Like back off. And I remember the year that he actually got destroyed by Chris Rock. I think when Chris Rock presented the Oscars, and I think, like I said, now he's reached that age where, like, now he just wants to do films and just act. And you can see quite a few people in who are like UK based. Like, you see people like Orlando Bloom, like who now wants to be an actor after like he's hit like a certain age. But that's that's neither here nor there. But I'm going to end on this note, and then we can move to the next topic. Hey, listen, Jude Law is going to play young Dumbledore. Young Dumbledore must have been getting some tail, bruv. He must have been checking chicks, fam. Like, magic and look like Jude Law. Are you crazy? Like, what kind of madness is this?
Well, apparently he might be gay in this film. Because
heard about that, yeah.
Because apparently in those I've never read the Harry Potter books, by the way, listeners. So that if I get anything wrong with this, like, please feel free to shout at me. But apparently in the books, it's hinted at that he was gay. So there's talk that may be the case with his character in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them too. I don't know if that's true or not, or if that's confirmed or whatever. So yeah, he may not have been getting chicks. It may have been a load of guys, but either way, he would have been scoring.
Either way, he's scoring. Yeah.
Either way, he's scoring. All right, cool, man. Well, let's move on from that and head into, well, as said, the main kind of reason we're here, which is to talk Justice League. So the Justice League movie came out last week. As I said, hopefully all of you listeners have had a chance to listen to it. To watch the movie now and have enjoyed it, or not, as the case may be, depending on how you look at it, and especially going by the Rotten Tomatoes score. But yeah, we've got some thoughts on it, as you can imagine. So we're going to dive right into that and crack this egg open and see what's inside, whether it's some juicy yolk or whether it's just some stinky stuff that needs to be dashed away. So first of all, guys, before we get into any kind of details about characters and things like that, just initial thoughts on the overall movie when you left the theater. Alvin, we'll start with you, man. What was your initial reaction once you finished seeing the movie?
Honestly, my initial reaction was that wasn't as shit as I thought it was going to be, and a slight air of kind of pleasure, but not enough to kind of like be insanely happy about, but more of a, you know what I mean? They did better than I expected, and actually worked out better than I expected, because I expected it to be a car crash. So yeah, my initial feelings to it was just like, okay.
Rich, how about you, man?
Yeah, so yeah, give me 2 seconds.
Yeah,
I think my initial reaction was the same as Alvin's, to be honest, where I was like, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. That's number one. Number two, I wasn't surprised because it was what I expected it to be honest, especially when you heard about things like about the reshoots. And number three, I called it. If I mean, like, if I don't know if you guys remember when we were talking about when they released the trailer, and I basically just said like I think this is just going to be Justice League War, that just the film version of Justice League War, which is like an animated movie where they fight against Darkseid, but they're just going to take out Darkseid and replace it with Steppenwolf. So I mean, it did a few things right, but it did a lot of things wrong that are just like, yeah, this, DC has still got problems, and they might have to do this like soft reboot with like the Flashpoint paradox, which is I'm sure something we'll touch upon later on in the show as well.
Yeah. We'll get to all of that, but yeah. I just wanted to get you guys' initial thoughts, really. But yeah, because I mean, when I saw it and came out, initially my reaction was like, "What the fuck was that?" But it was less of a kind of Batman v Superman, I'm angry, what the fuck was that? And more a kind of just confused, what the fuck was that? If that makes sense. Because when I stopped and sort of thought about it, there were some things that they did right, and we'll talk about that. There were certainly elements, scenes, and some kind of character representations and character beats and interactions that I did enjoy. But as you said, Rich, there's a lot wrong with the movie as a whole, and it left me feeling a bit when the dust kind of settled and I thought about it more. It left me feeling kind of sad, really, because it felt like, as much as I felt the movie was poor and it is poor, there is kind of things that are there that show that they're kind of maybe trying to turn things in the right direction, if that makes sense, in the sense that they're trying to change the way the characters are represented. They're trying to change the tone of the universe, and it's kind of, it feels like it's that first step in the right direction, but they're still kind of stuck in a quagmire. And so, they've literally only got 1 foot on dry ground, and the rest is all in this quicksand that they still need to shake off. And as a result, the movie kind of feels a mess, really. But let's get into it anyway. That was my kind of initial takes on it. But yeah, let's just jump into the meat and veg, really. So in terms of like the positives, so the things that actually you felt really worked, what were the kind of things that really kind of impacted for you and you were like, yeah, I enjoyed this? So we'll start with, say, specific scenes before we get to the actual characters themselves, but specific scenes that made you feel like, okay, yeah, this works. Alf, do you want to go first?
Yeah. To be honest, there wasn't really kind of like a specific scene that like it's a weird movie, like, because it. I think the one scene where I was kind of like, the kind of embracing all the madness, or the comic book madness, and that was that one flashback about Steppenwolf when he first came to Earth to try and terraform it, and you saw all these kind of like the world of men, the Amazons, the Atlanteans, and then you had all these other beings as well, and then like seeing a Green Lantern kind of in that battle, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, so they are like properly embracing like all the craziness of like comics and whatnot, and they are doing their own kind of, I guess, timeline in a way, because that happened eons ago and whatnot, and that was kind of like, it was an acknowledgement to kind of like that there's more out there, I suppose, and there's different places that they could go.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine we're all probably going to say the same thing with regard to that specific scene, but that was a great scene. I really did enjoy that scene, in terms of the way that, like you said, Alvin, they kind of embraced the nuttiness of that comic, and Kirby's kind of idea of the new gods, and the idea of these different forces coming together to battle Steppenwolf. It was very kind of Lord of the Ringsy, in terms of the way it was done. It worked nicely for me. I enjoyed that. I always enjoy a good battle scene, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was kind of cool to see a Green Lantern included in there as well, even if it was just for a few seconds. And I heard some people say that Zeus was supposed to be in the battle as well, but I think he may have been cut out or something like that. I'm not sure, but I don't know if you guys saw that at all. But
I saw
yeah,
Zeus and I saw Ares.
right. Okay, so you saw them there, yeah? Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed those kind of elements. Rich, same for you, man. Were there any like specific scenes that you liked aside from that scene? But obviously, if it is just that scene, then feel free to
That
chime in on that
that
as well.
that scene didn't do anything for me. I think as in as it didn't do anything for me where I was like, oh my god, wow. Like to me, it was a scene that was more fanboy service. Because and this is the problem that I have with the DCEU and this film in particular as well. As
Mm.
is the whole thing of like there's no concept of time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
so you're like,
hold off on
yeah.
the negatives for now. We'll get to the negatives, but
Oh no no
like
no no
just
no 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 no! I'm
pick on
just
a
no, oh, I'll say okay. So tell me about
yeah.
so a scene that stood
So
out
pick
to
a
me.
specific scene that that you felt was actually good, that you enjoyed, that you watched the scene and was like, yeah, I enjoyed that.
Well, it would be a pick of two. Can I put two?
You can say both, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so the first one were the Amazons against Steppenwolf when Steppenwolf comes down in our modern day time to get the mother box. That was awesome, and I don't know if you guys remember how I was saying how I wasn't sold on the Amazons in the Wonder Woman film
Mm.
because it was just like they weren't Amazons. They didn't feel like they were anything special to me. And if they just felt like they were the only Amazon in name. And if you think about it, the Amazons were the people or were women that were promised to Spartans. When a Spartan passes away, this is the person that they're going to go to, whatever place they consider heaven, and that's the person that they're going to be betrothed to for the rest of their life, a warrior woman. And you see Wonder Woman, and it's good because there was like the women were represented and the different races of women that were represented, and they were all very strong women. But when the Germans invade the Themyscira, it's kind of just like meh, I wasn't really sold in it. This one showed, and I like the fact that it like Damon Carroll, it seemed to be back on point. Damon Carroll is basically the main um, fight choreographer and stunt choreographer that Zack Snyder has used on the majority of his films. So from 300, he's a guy that basically helped create the 300 Spartan program and the 300 fighting style. Sucker Punch, Watchmen, to me, kind of lost the plot on Batman versus Superman and kind of picked it back up again on BVS with the Batman scenes. So that scene there showed me the reason why Amazons are Amazons. And they're not just brutes. They was like there's just smarts. They're not just beautiful women or just strong women. They're a mixture of everything. So there was that scene that really had me going. And then the scene where basically when Superman comes back to life, spoiler, and three of the Justice League attack him. So that's Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Aquaman. And the Flash basically starts running around, to try and do something. And it's just the look of the eye of Superman tracking the Flash. And then it turns from the tracking of the eye into the tracking of the head. The fight after it is okay. That's fine because you know that Superman's fast anyway. But it's the exchanges of glances between Barry Allen, who's obviously at this point, as far as we know, never faced anybody as fast as him, just going, holy shit, this guy is as fast as me, and I may have bitten off more than I chew. That scene there had me grinning like a Cheshire cat. I kid you not. So those two scenes off the top of my head, like really, really were like executed well on screen, and and were just perfect for the characters that they were portraying.
Hmm. Yeah, with the Amazon scene, I really enjoyed that as well. The opening scene. What I liked about it, I think, which you kind of touched on anyway, really was same kind of thing. Really was for the first time we actually saw them use a kind of tactical awareness and sort of working together as a unit, and that's why they're so formidable as a fighting force. I mean, certainly from what I remember of reading them in the comics back in the day, was that's what made the Amazons so formidable, was that they worked as a team. So you couldn't, it was very, very difficult to take them down because they all, each one had a specific role in a battlefield, and they were all trained for that specific role. So they all knew kind of exactly what to do and when, and that's what you got in that scene with the Steppenwolf attack early on. You got a perfect illustration of that. So yeah, I did enjoy that scene as well. So yeah, that was cool. I've got a lot of thoughts about the Superman scene, but we'll get to that in the negatives. Characters, in terms of like characters that you enjoyed the most, was there anybody really who kind of stood out for you and you were like, yeah, I enjoyed this character and you'd like to see more of them within this universe? So particularly I'm thinking of the characters that we haven't met yet. So we're looking at the Flash, Aquaman and Cyborg in particular. Did any of those three do enough to stand out and say, yeah, I want to see more of this type of character on the screen? Alvin, you can go first again. Sorry, I keep picking you first, man. But
No, that's all right. That's fine. You know what? I was kind of mildly pleased with all of them in different ways. I did think there was a bit too much. It was a bit try hard, like for Barry Allen. Like I was just calm down the jokes a little bit. You don't have to be so jittery all the time. You know what I mean? That was kind of like, it didn't grate on me, but it was just something that I noticed. I was like, yeah, they could tone that down a bit, but I'll just take it, whatever. You know what I mean? But you know what? I think Ray Fisher's Cyborg is quite good because he kind of played him natural. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, I don't really want these, but I have them, so I kind of have to learn to use them. You know what I mean? And it's a nice, you know, when we first see him, he's kind of like in his dad's place, and he's like just living indoors for however long, and he's presumed dead, like as far as everyone else is concerned. But it was nice that he had an arc whereby he was kind of distant for a little bit, and then decided to, you know, get on board and start using his acquired powers for good in order to defeat Steppenwolf. But yeah, I thought he was a pretty well fleshed out character for someone who's pretty much a fucking robot.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Rich, how about you? Any of the characters that you kind of was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some more of that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, like you guys have just said, Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman. I think we were kind of undersold in Aquaman, especially how things were portrayed in the trailer. Like, you know, I was expecting a bit more. So, I mean, whatever we did get of him, it was actually quite good. I didn't mind. I definitely agree with you, Alvin, on the way how Cyborg was portrayed. That, like, to be honest, I went into this film going like, yeah, Cyborg is just going to be like black actor number 7 underneath CGI, and he's just gonna walk up to Apple Max and touch it and go like, I can read stuff. I actually thought I was good at. Yeah, I think like you said, he played it really, really natural. And Barry Allen was pretty good as well. I mean, to be honest, that's not my Barry Allen. Like anybody who reads a Flash comic like knows that's not how Barry Allen acts. Yeah. I mean, but obviously they're trying to go for something different. And it did work. You know, I'm not gonna knock it. Yeah. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen a bit more Aquaman. Which is meant to, you know, I mean, there's that rumor that the whatever was cut out from the film, there's meant to be quite a few scenes that kind of delves into his background. So I'd like to see what that would have brought.
Yeah, for me, with the 3 new characters that were added, I think the one that surprised me the most, and both of you have touched on this, but so I'm just reiterating what you said anyway, but the one who surprised me the most was Cyborg. Again, because on a personal level, I don't really have any attachment to the Cyborg character. I never really have. Even, you know, way back when I used to read like the Teen Titan comic books and stuff, I just never really got him so much. But in this film, what they've done really well, and what Ray Fisher did really well, is I think you said it, Alvin, he kind of underplayed it. He didn't, the performance wasn't bombastic or anything like that. It came across as a guy who's struggling to understand what's happened to him, and you know what it all means, basically, and what the implications of it are. And you can kind of, what the movie did very well was give us a little kind of glimpse at the relationship he has with his father as well, and the way that appears to be kind of strange in terms of how his father obviously used the Kryptonian technology to kind of rebuild him, and how Cyborg is still trying to figure out sort of why his father did that, and and what that all means. And I think he handled that well, and the film handled that quite well. I got the feeling though that there were parts of that have been left on the cutting room floor, partly because of some of the things that Zack Snyder was saying when he was still working on the movie, and how he was saying, Cyborg is basically going to be the heart and soul of the film. And that didn't really happen for me anyway when I watched it. But it did feel like, there were parts of his story that they may have just removed from the film altogether. But he was definitely one that stood out for me. Aquaman, I kind of picked, when we were talking about the trailer before, I picked Aquaman as my MVP. And I was kind of surprised and a little bit disappointed, to be honest, because it felt, same thing as you said, Richard, it felt like a little bit shortchanged. I'm not sure if they're trying to kind of cut things out so as to not spoil the Aquaman solo movie that's coming up. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the future of the DCEU. But it felt like, again, a lot of his stuff ended up on the cutting room floor. And the character that I didn't connect with much at all was the Flash, which was weird because that was the character I was most expecting to connect with. But a lot of his jokes just fell flat for me, apart from maybe the one quip he has about brunch and not getting brunch and things like that. That I thought was kind of humorous. But other than that, a lot of the quips and all of that, it just felt a bit, I think Alvin said try hard. That's probably the best way to describe it. It just felt a bit forced to me. It didn't feel natural at all. And like you said, Rich, this isn't really the Barry Allen that we know. And certainly, listeners, if you're familiar with The Flash, whether it be the TV adaptation or the comic books, or even going back to the Justice League cartoon, which a lot of people listening to this might remember. Even though he is, again, he serves a similar purpose in that cartoon, in that he's the comedic relief. He's not, every minute a joke. He does have some very funny lines in that series, but it's, they're usually well paced and delivered at the right time. Whereas here, it kind of felt like almost every time he was on screen, he was trying to crack a funny. And after a while, that just got a bit tiring for me. But Cyborg was definitely the standout for me, definitely. So for the Holy Trinity, Lord bless them, but the DC Trinity, the powerhouses of DC Comics, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. How do you guys feel that they were handled in this movie? Do you feel they got enough screen time, or didn't get enough, or did their characters kind of change too much, or was it what you kind of expected? Rich, you can go first because Alvin's always going first. So.
I thought they were handled okay. It felt like Holy Trinity lights, if you get my meaning. And I didn't like the fact that well at the beginning of the film they kind of make a reference that Batman and Wonder Woman haven't really been in communication for X amount of time since the death of Superman. But yet, when they do interact, it's almost like they've known each other for X amount of years, and they have been in contact. And that kept on throwing me off the way how they were acting, like the relationship between the two. I like the fact that they were kind of hinting at there might be some form of like relationship that could blossom, which, as people know, at some point in the comic books, Batman does date Wonder Woman. So that was okay. I don't know. The Batman that we got in this, as compared to the Batman that we had in BVS, seemed very wildly different. And I know that some people were complaining. This is a new iteration of Batman, so people maybe might still be going off like the Michael Keatons and the Christian Bales. So the way how this Batman is portrayed now, maybe this is how Batman was a few years ago before he became disillusioned and just a bitter old man. but that's something I'm sure something we'll touch upon later on, because I think that's another thing that comes into like time constraints and timelines for this universe. Superman, Henry Cavill, the boy did well. I'm not gonna knock him, man. I was happy with what he gave, especially considering what he had to do, and for the first time in a long time, especially like when he goes buck wild, I was like, at last, like, don't get me wrong, we know that Superman's all about truth, justice in like, in the American way, and he have your cookies, drinking milk, always be good to your parents, the 4 laws that Hulk Hogan used to give and all that stuff. But when he went bad, I was like, yeah, he's a bit of a bad boy. Like he did it right. It did get a bit cheesy towards the end in his portrayal when he was coming and fighting against Steppenwolf. But I mean, what more do you want from the big boy scout? Like like it was decent. And I don't think you can really knock him. There's a lot of people out there, like I said, really I think making some noise as well about Wonder Woman and how she wasn't as strong a female as she was in the Wonder Woman film. But like I said, this is where it comes down to the whole thing of like time. Time has changed. So because there's no concept of time in this whole universe, people are just watching one film and then watching this film and thinking, well, why isn't this person acting like this anymore? So, but I was happy with what they gave me with the Holy Trinity. Can't knock it.
Yeah, cool. Alvin, how about you, man?
Yeah, I thought Wonder Woman was on point as always, kind of in terms of like characterization and that. I like that scene at the beginning with her when she was like saving those hostages, and that I thought it was pretty cool. It seemed to me to be in keeping with a lot of the stuff, but it's like what Rich was saying about how people see things in one movie and expect their power level to be exactly the same in the next and all that, and not like, well, it's comics at the end of the day, and it's someone's power level is always going to go like up and down depending as to who's writing them, you know what I mean, and what the story needs and whatnot. But yeah, I liked her. She was cool. She just did everything I expected her to do, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Batman, I thought they made some improvements. Yeah, because they gave him a lighter tone. He wasn't as like fucking scowly as he was in BVS, and he just seemed just a smidge more likable. Even though he's not kind of like the most expressive of the team. He was just more generic Batman. So yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, I mean, he did some all right stuff. I mean, I think they kind of not made him weak because he's human, but they kind of didn't make him as tactical as I'd like. Like when he was having, like, I'm thinking of the fight with Steppenwolf, and like I can't really remember him doing anything apart from possibly pointing a gun at him, one of the Parademon's guns. But yeah, no, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Superman, I was quite surprised by, just because I felt he was more in keeping as to what a classic Superman is like in terms of his attitude and behavior and the kind of things he says and his responses, and him just being a nice, well-mannered boy and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I also like the fact that his suit wasn't the muted colors; it was actually kind of bright, and that kind of just made me smile and go, yeah, that's Superman, man. That's what he's all about.
Cool. All right, thank you, guys. Well, I guess from my point of view, I'm going to use this as a bridge for us to go into some of the negatives of this film, because I do have some thoughts on these 3 characters. Starting with Wonder Woman. With Wonder Woman, I mostly enjoyed her on the screen. Gal Gadot continues to get better and better for me with each kind of appearance. And I actually thought she did quite well in this movie, as I felt with Wonder Woman, considering where she came from. So in terms of performance and stuff, I thought she seems to be getting very comfortable with the Wonder Woman character now, and she kind of gets how that character works and the strengths of the character as well. I did like the little scene with her conversation with Cyborg, where I think she mentions, Cyborg kind of thinks he surprised her, and she's like, look, if I wanted to, I could have dragged you out of the bushes because I knew you were there, kind of thing, and I knew you were listening. So it shows that she kind of, I guess they've kind of positioned her as like the mother of the group almost, and she kind of fulfills that role pretty well. I did like the scene where Cyborg arrives on the rooftop when they meet with Commissioner Gordon, and she kind of turns and sort of smiles at him, as if to say, I knew you'd come, kind of thing. So I like that she's quite an optimistic character, and she kind of fits what they're trying to do now in terms of building that optimism. Not sure I needed that many R shots, but boy, it is what it is, I guess. But aside from that, yeah, she was pretty cool. Superman, I enjoyed most of Henry Cavill's performance. Unlike you, Rich, I wasn't convinced by his return scene at all. And to be honest, I felt that was kind of a misstep as well. Like, I don't think, if you're trying to change the way Superman is presented to audiences, I don't think the best thing to do is to have him on his return immediately attack people who are supposed to be on his side.
I didn't say that. Sorry. I didn't say, no, I said that. No, I said the scene that I liked was just the scene where he looks at the Flash. I didn't say I was a big fan of the actual scene itself. But we'll get into that.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Put me on blast. How dare you?
No, that wasn't about putting you on blast.
I'm joking, man.
You'll know when I put you on blast. But I didn't. I wasn't crazy about that scene, to be honest, and I've seen a lot of people get quite excited about it, and it left me quite cold, because it made me feel like, oh, we're going down the Zack Snyder Superman road again, where Superman's a moody bastard who just is grumpy and grunts and people don't understand me, they're my enemy, and it's like, you're not bringing any depth to the character by doing that. You don't make a character deep by simply turning them into an arsehole. That's not the way it works. You're supposed to show a progression. So for me, that scene didn't work at all. But I did like his initial introduction, even though the CGI was wonky as shit. Because I don't know what was going on with his lips there, and people going, "Oh, you're making too much of it, because if you didn't know they would CGI'd it, you wouldn't be able to tell." I'm like, what? You wouldn't be able to tell something was wrong with his face when you saw that film? Like, if you couldn't spot that, then maybe you need to get your eyes tested, because like that has nothing to do with anybody knowing that they had to CGI out his mustache. It was plainly obvious that something wasn't right with his lips, because his lips were half an inch to the left of underneath his nose. And it's like, nobody has a face like that, and especially when we know what Henry Cavill's face looks like already. But anyway, the return was a little bit cheesy, but as you said, Rich, that's kind of Superman, and I feel like it's time for him to be a little bit cheesy. Sorry, we've gone through the depressing Superman phase. Let's give people a bit more of an inspirational Superman. Basically, DC have allowed Marvel to steal their lunch and turn Captain America into the character that Superman should have been. So, it's high time that they position Superman in the way that he should be positioned. So, but there's things to work with there, and Cavill, I have to admit, is good. As much as I haven't enjoyed any of the Superman outings so far in terms of movies, I really can't complain too much about Henry Cavill. I think he gets it, and I think that he deserves to get his own movie, really. But we'll go into that later on anyway. But yeah, let me start with my real negatives, and this might surprise you lot. But I did not enjoy Batman. I did not enjoy Batman in this film at all. I don't know whether it's because the character has changed so drastically from the way he was in Batman v Superman, and because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking the only reason his character has changed is because of the ludicrous Martha thing that they shoved into BVS. But it's feeling weird, and also, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of felt like Ben Affleck played it like he couldn't be bothered to be there at times. It seemed very, like a very lackadaisical performance. Like there's certain parts where he's talking on the private plane to Alfred, and it just kind of, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's like he's
No, no,
exuding
no.
this
I know what you mean.
energy
I know
where
what you
it's
mean.
like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't be bothered with this shit, let me just say these lines and get the scene over with so we can go on to the next one. And yeah, that was weird. I mean, I'm glad you kind of agree there, Rich, because yeah, I was thinking maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just like, I've got the fact that he wants to leave the Batman role in the back of my head, and I'm just kind of judging him on that. But it just kind of felt that way to me. And also the suits, man. What was going on with the suits in that movie, with the Batman suits? Like, did you see the suit he wore in the final scenes?
Yeah,
He
like it
looked,
was like Arkham Asylum. It was Arkham Asylum suit.
he looked like the fucking Michelin Man. It was just massive. It was like, what the hell was that? Like, I was like, huh? It just, yeah, it was weird. The Batman was really weird in this. I didn't mind the scene where they were kind of debating, the rights and wrongs of bringing Superman back to life. But yeah, it was just a weird performance for me. So I don't know. But yeah, we'll use that as a jumping off point to jump into the negatives of the film anyway. Did you guys want to come back on anything I said with regards to Batman or?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Is like I said, is that whole thing of he's got a new outlook on life, and he's seen that there is good that can be done, but even though he might have the outlook on life, the determination and the grit behind Bruce Wayne / Batman never ever goes away. So I understand what you're saying. It was like in BVS when he's talking to Alfred, and he's and every single line, as much as people some people liked it, some people didn't, some people mocked it, where it's just that no, he's do you know how strong he is? Like if he wants to take us out, he can do this and he can do that, and he was just determined, just the way how he was talking, and even just his physicality of how he was acting, it was always there. And I don't understand how all of a sudden you now going to go into a fight with this person who, in essence, as from what you can see, might be powerful than the people who've got together, and Superman, and you're kind of taking it like a walk in a park.
Yeah.
There's none of that. I mean, I think we can all agree when we say that when Batman fights against anybody, as much as it is about doing the right thing, there's also this unnerving fear that he feeds off that drives him. Like I didn't see a fear that he had of Steppenwolf. Like like other characters mentioned it, that they had like a fear, like, wow, listen, I think we're gonna die, and oh, I'm scared of bugs, and XYZ. But there wasn't a fear that Batman had of like that was driving him. It was almost just like, hey, I've met other people that are kind of like dressing up and doing cosplay. I've made friends. let's go and fight somebody. So I understand what you're saying when it felt like he just played it kind of flippantly. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on that end. I don't know, Alvin, if you want to add to that as well.
I think his Batman was just kind of like semi-exhausted. That's what it seemed like to me. It seemed like it was a bit of a ball ache for him to like fucking get everyone and that, you know what I mean, to head to fucking somewhere in Northern Europe and fucking meet, sorry, I keep swearing, and meet Aquaman, only to have him go, nah, I'm all right, you know what I mean? I think it was just like, oh, can't be asked. That's why I think it was like that. But other than that, I didn't particularly notice it. But yeah, and I think his performance as Batman is quite breathy, like in his voice. Like it's kind of like almost like a whisper yell when he says things. You know what I mean? So I think that adds to the I can't be bothered, because usually when you can't be bothered, it's like fucking you know what I mean? So perhaps it's that too, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Actually, it is quite you hit the nail on the head. Really, it's quite breathy the way that he delivers his lines as Batman and as Bruce Wayne as well. So yeah, it's an odd one. But yeah, as I said, we might as well segue into our negatives. So Alv, do you want to kick us off? Was there anything like that stood out as like really, really, really irritating to you? I reckon we're probably going to all say the same thing on some of these, but yeah, you might as well go first, man.
Yeah, for me, my biggest negative in the whole movie was Steppenwolf. Just because, I mean, what he did with his axe was fucking badass, and I was like, yo, this guy's fucking sick. But I am bored of CGI villains. because they're just that CGI villains. You can have one of the best voices behind them. It doesn't really matter if they're not interesting, and you don't really give him that much of a backstory. Oh, his only backstory was he came to Earth once, he tried to mash up the Earth, they beat him, he got banished, done. That was it. Oh, now he's back to fucking try again. It's like that's not enough. That's not enough just to say he's doing it for Darkseid. It's not enough for me. Like that's not a character. That's just a fucking set of pixels that they've animated. And like when we got close-ups of his face talking and all that, I was just like, it's just CGI. I'd rather it was an actual big ass person in a fucking. I'd rather have got the mountain from bloody Game of Thrones to play that character. You know what I mean? Because at least then that's a real fucking guy. If you want to dub him over, you know what I mean? Dub him over, whatever. You know what I mean? But like, it's just like just all the close-ups of him talking. I was like, there's no threat there because he's not fucking real. I know he's not. You know what I mean? The CGI was okay. But it's just like, come on, man. They did the same thing in BVS, you know, CGI. Well, it turned out the villain was CGI. Well, no, it turned out that Doomsday was the villain because really it was just like 2 hours of Batman and Superman being angry at one another. And then they went, oh, yeah, there's a villain. We're throwing a villain, throwing Doomsday. And he was just CGI. And he wasn't really anything apart from just fucking anger and just jumping about, smashing things. So it's just boring. I just find that so boring. So that to me, whenever they're fighting, I was like, yeah, it's cool what's going on, but I don't fucking care, to be honest. I don't really give a shit.
Well, listeners, you heard Alvin's passion there, boy. I lost count of how many F-bombs there was in that one.
No, it's just the only way, no. It's because it's like, I don't fucking care. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not invested. That's what I'm trying. I guess by swearing so much, I'm trying to say, yeah, I'm not invested in that. I don't care. Like, make me care, man. You know what I mean? Give me a reason to care. You know, Spider-Man Homecoming had one of the best villains of the year because even though he was a villain, you as the audience member kind of sided with him because he went, yo, this guy's just trying to make his money. And he got screwed over by the government. I'm kind of on his side, you know what I mean, a little bit. Right? Not completely with what he's doing, but I'm kind of on his, you know, they made his care for the villain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This didn't do anything apart from he's got a big ass axe and he's a bit of a badass. And that's all he is.
Yeah. Well, we might as well stick with Steppenwolf because Jesus Christ, Steppenwolf is bad. Rich Kid, I mean, was there anything redeeming about Steppenwolf in your eyes that you saw in the movie, or do you just want to kick him as well? Because feel free to do so if you would.
No, well, the thing is, to be honest, it's not even about kicking him. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, it's literally as simple as that. Anybody that can say anything different, then by all means contact us and explain how. And as in, when I say that, I don't mean like you're a fan and say like, oh my god, but it was this and it was that. No. We're talking about film now. All right. I liked it when he was fighting.
that
was it. Yeah.
That scratching sound you can hear there, listeners. That's Richard scraping the bottom of the barrel. Get some good shit out.
Yeah. I liked it when he was fighting. Like me personally, I don't mind CGI characters. I mean, even if they're kind of bad, like sometimes, you know, like you might watch certain films and then when you go back to it and the CGI hasn't really stood the test of time and you're like, well, you know what? You still brought some badassery to the screen with it. You know, I'm going to let it pass. But like you said, Steppenwolf was literally, he was an empty plate. He was an empty, that's what it was. He was an empty plate. Like he was just a stand. He came down to Earth and he wanted to take over the Earth. Like shit, who hasn't done that before? You know, that's what the main problem was. And then on top of that, even when we did see anything of him, there wasn't any form of there never really seemed to be any form of motivation either. I mean, he was just like, oh, you guys know I tried to take over the Earth the first time. They defeated me last time, and I'm gonna pull it off this time. Yeah, like what? Like huh? Like, you know. So and so it's that thing where it's like, it's and it's one of the things. I mean, like I said, I know we're going to be touching on a lot of things here, but that just reminds me of Zack Snyder writing, where he just, you know, like, and the way how Warner Brothers have been treating this thing, once again, like they're just expecting people to know and be like, oh, well, it's really, really cool. Yeah, like we're getting smarter than that. or we are smarter than that. So, like I
Mm.
said, I think physically what he was doing on the screen, that was cool, but he could have just been like a boss in a computer game, to be honest.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, man. I mean, boy, well, we're running out of time anyway, so I'm not even gonna like. You guys have pretty much hit the nail on the head, so I really don't have anything to add to that. Say for two things. One, Alvin, I'm kind of starting to come along to your line of thinking. I am getting a bit sick of these CGI villains now. I'm finding it a bit hard to just kind of relate to that. I guess is the way of putting it. I don't know. But yeah, I agree with that 100%. And as Rich said, like you know, what the hell was his motivation? We we know he wants the boxes, but you know that's about it. We don't really get anything else from this movie. And yeah, I will say this as well. Anybody who keeps saying, well, you know, Marvel has a villain problem. Listen, DC Films and Warner Brothers have put out fucking Doomsday, who was shite, have put out the Enchantress, who boggled across the screen for a couple of minutes, and have now added Steppenwolf. And oh yeah, let's not forget the brilliance that is Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. So when you want to,
Don't forget Ares. Don't forget
oh
Ares.
yeah,
Oh
of
yeah,
Wonder
course,
Woman.
Aries, yeah.
yeah, let's not
Bugged the
forget
hell out of
Ares
me
as
that.
well. So when you want to talk about like comic book movie villains, then that's and the problems with them, then it's a problem within the genre. It's not a stick for you to use to beat Marvel Studios with. Because as much as they have got it wrong in the past with some of their characters, they've also got some examples of where they've got it right. So far, DC and Warner Brothers have not got it right, full stop. So when you start putting out a villain that people are actually interested in, that's when we can start having that conversation. Until that point, shut up. All right, let's move on anyway. Um, so yeah, I mean, in terms of like overall negatives as well with the film, because it feels like that, as said, there's a lot, and we've kind of touched upon them anyway in saying some of our positives because that's just the kind of movie, but Justice League turned out to be. Was there anything else that kind of like stood out to either of you as a negative? I will just quickly add before you begin that for me, the CGI I felt was really sloppy in places, as I kind of touched on. Um, the parademons, I was just like, oh, again, loads of like, you know, CGI things flying around in the sky, and it just was like, yeah, okay, who cares? Like, again, you've not really explained. You kind of touched on it a little bit when you had the flashback scene to the original battle, but otherwise, you've not really explained much about the parademons. Oh yeah, and the opening scene where it's like, oh yeah, they feed on fear. Um, and the Russian family, what was the deal? Like, I didn't understand why we spent so much time with the Russian family. Like, what they made a thing of like this girl finding the bug spray bottle, and then like that was just left hanging. Like they never bothered to go back to it again. Um, and it just seems like this is a movie and with a plot where people just kind of leave shit everywhere and don't bother with it. The Superman scene where they left the mother box in the fucking ship when they know that Steppenwolf can use boom tubes to jump around to different places. Um, and they never bothered to explain that. And yet the characters, for some reason, leave the one box that they've got left to protect, leave it in the ship to go and rush off to deal with Superman. And then, surprise, surprise, Steppenwolf jumps out of a boom tube, takes the box and goes. I was laughing. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, what? Like, you know, you've literally made nothing of this thing that has happened, which is infinitely important to the plot, just as important as Superman returning. And you know, it just was boneheaded at times. The plotting was boneheaded. So yeah, you guys, boy, you've got like 4 minutes between the two of you. So if you want to cram some shit in, now's the time, man. Fling as much mud as you like. Richie, go first if you want.
Um, yeah, that scene that you're talking about the mother box, you know, it reminded me of like bad WWF wrestling,
Yeah,
where the
yeah,
referee gets knocked out,
yeah. And
and then
the,
everyone looks at us like, oh my god, it's not fair, wake up, somebody get in here. Um,
do you know what it
yeah,
reminded me of with the wrestling analogy? It reminded me of if you have like a baby face and a heel. So say like you've got Stone
yeah,
Cold and you've got like the heel Undertaker, and they
yeah,
have their
yeah,
battle. and then both of them get knocked out in the middle of the ring, and like the championship belt is just laying around, and then like out from the back comes Mick Foley to steal the belt, and then run into the back, and like Jim Ross is, oh my god, he's run off with the belt! I can't believe it! I can't believe it!
Did everybody see that? Did everybody see that? All of our 14 million viewers, did anybody see that?
Sorry, carry on, man.
So I definitely agree with you on that scene. I think that, like I said, I'm going to put it down to the main problem for the DCEU, including the film and the whole franchise as a whole. Concept of time. The concept of time, it just seems to be non-existent. It's just nonsense. So, I mean, like I said, that's something that we can touch upon, when we talk about it again. I'm sure we will at a later point. But that scene when Superman comes back to life, the reason why, to me, it didn't work is because, number one, we all know that he's coming back. You need to make us believe that it's a struggle for him to make it back and to lead into that fight for us to make him remember who he is. And a prime example I'll have is that, for example, I remember there's a film called Leon. Jason put me on this film back in the early 90s when we first met. And I remember he never told me, spoiler, that Leon gets killed at the end. Even when I watched this film, the way how the film has been directed and the screenplay has been written and the actors act throughout the whole film, I still genuinely always believe that, you know what, maybe something might be different. Like you need to have that sense of hope or that sense of fear or that sense of dread. And it never feels that way when they bring Superman back to life. It's just like, we get the mother box, we just got to do this and X, Y, Z. And it just felt like, it actually felt like a comic book where they know they need to wrap up the story because come by next issue, they're going to start a new arc. And a new writer and a new artist is going to come out. So it's like, yeah, okay, cool, what can we do? Well, he's dead, but we can just use him this to bring him back to life because it works.
I'll tell you what it's like. So, it's like using the cosmic cube to wish back Captain America. That's what it's exactly like.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But sorry, Rich, carry on if you've got any more to add.
And so that was it. And I think it's just the concept of time throughout the whole franchise and it especially shows in this film. Like, you just have light and you have a daytime, then you have nighttime, but you don't even know how long it's been going on for. Like, that's it. I mean, something that they did that they did well in BVS is that they gave you a time frame at least of like the battle between Zod and between Superman, and it was like a year or 18 months or something like that, and that was cool. But then this film it doesn't know his ass from his elbow, and then, like I said, they tried to make it feel like it's been going on for X amount of time by showing you different weather patterns, and it's like, okay, then cool. And then you just get to like Russia, and then it's just like red sky. Like, so so what? And then you just focus on like one, and then you focus on one Russian family, but then they only briefly like show that there's other families in there when Superman flies by with a skyscraper, and you're just like, okay. But I'll tell you one thing, and this is I reckon this is what's called this feels a bit like Joss Whedon writing. No, because he would have kept it in. Definitely, let's say he put Zack Snyder writing. When that girl picks up that bottle of bug spray, I guarantee you, when they release this on DVD or Blu-ray, there's going to be a deleted scene where one of the bugs or something tries to take her away or something like that, or something comes and she has to spray one of those, but one of the parademons. I guarantee you. I bet money on that. I bet money on that. I bet Alvin's soul. Yeah, that's a deleted scene.
Well, everybody knows Alvin ain't got a soul, so that's a bit, win. But Alvin, man, boy, feel free to kick a man when he's down, So if you want to jump in, then jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I had questions throughout. Like, firstly, where the fuck were these parademons coming from, right? Because it's not like they traveled across the cosmos. And it's not like that mother box was activating or anything, because that was lying dormant in Themyscira. So how would they fucking appearing? And Batman was like, it's the fifth sighting. They've been around for a little bit and they keep coming. It's like, well, how? How are they coming here? What, are they just like fucking driving in a Ford Fiesta or something? Like, I have no idea. Like, what the hell's going on? And like the Aquaman bit, like, I thought Aquaman was kind of cool. I kind of liked him and all that. But the way he just showed up in that fucking tunnel in an entire tidal wave was just like, oh yeah, I'm here now. And I know he said some shit about being able to kind of feel like people through fucking water and that, but they weren't initially in water. And surely Bruce could have given him a phone, his phone number or something, so he could be like, "Yo, yeah, Steppenwolf came here. He took the fucking box, so I'm gonna join your team." You know what I mean? It's like, what, you didn't ring. Like, you just decided to just travel through fucking shitty sewage pipes and managed to save everyone. And not only that, you were wearing your full kind of like King Atlantean get up as well. It's like, I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? And oh man, what else now? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that kind of did my head in. Yeah, the parademons just being like Chitauri essentially, just being cannon fodder was just like, yeah, yawn, whatever. Okay, yeah, I know why you're there. And yeah, I just feel like, why would you have Aquaman fight a land battle? His whole thing is the sea. I get that he's strong and all that, but it's kind of like, it's just him just like throwing his spear into things, and it's just like, what? Like, put him where he's best, which is the fucking sea. His name is Aquaman. You know what I mean? And once Superman showed up, the fight was a bit too easy. Just a little like, it was almost like, you guys shouldn't even. You should guys should retire and let Superman do all the fucking superhero work, because he just fucking came in and he just made everything so fucking easy. Now I get why they had to Optimus Prime him, you know what I mean, and not have him show up until like near the fucking end. Because he's almost. I don't want to say they made it. Maybe they made him way too powerful. Because remember that episode of Justice League where the spell's been cast, and Batman and Wonder Woman they're together in this building, and then they don't realize that they're each other. So Superman sees Wonder Woman, sees a demon. She sees a demon in Superman, so they start fighting each other.
Yeah,
Wonder Woman almost like fucks him up. She like proper matches him up. It's only when he points to a puddle that she can see his actual true reflection. You know what I mean? So I think like they've kind of maybe made Superman a bit too powerful here. But yeah, I mean those are just some of the few of the ones off my head.
Cool. Fair enough. Well, I think we've given poor Justice League enough of a kick in for now, so we'll help it up off the floor and dust his shirt off a little bit, and then send him on his way. But let's talk a little bit about the future of the DCEU before we wrap this thing up. Obviously, listeners, I mean, I guess for those of you who've listened, you may or may not know this, but on its opening weekend, the movie underperformed. It didn't really hit the projections that Warner Brothers had for it. I believe they were aiming for about $110 million in the American box office on the weekend that it came out. And it only hit, initial reports were saying 96, but I think once everything's been recalculated, it's actually more like 92 million. That's actually the lowest opening that a DCEU film has had since its inception. Batman v Superman made a lot more. Suicide Squad opened to a bigger weekend. Wonder Woman opened to a bigger weekend. Man of Steel opened to a bigger weekend than that. So that led to a lot of people kind of questioning, okay, well, where is the DCEU going from here? Because surely, you know, if it's underperformed that badly, people at Warner Brothers must be looking at that thinking, boy, well, it seems like all of our grand plans are kind of blowing up in our faces here. So, you know, where do we go? So we definitely know that we're going to get Aquaman next year. That looks like it's pretty much done in terms of filming now. I think it's just in post-production. So unless they pull the plug on it in post-production, which would be a very drastic move, then it seems like that's pretty much going to happen. Wonder Woman 2 has kind of been tentpoled, and I guess with the success of Wonder Woman, it would be silly of them to pull the rug on that. But for the rest of the DCEU going forward, chaps, kind of what movies do you see happening? Do you see any happening at all? Or do you think they're actually just going to hit the reset button and be like, you know what, we messed up, take that piece of paper out the notebook, screw it up, throw it in the bin, and start again? Alf, where do you think things are going from here?
I don't know, man. All I know is that it's fucked up that like you've got DC's like major team, the top level team, having a movie and it not doing that well. Thor Ragnarok did better than that in its opening week. And that's a fucking Thor movie, and the Thor movies haven't even been that great. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, I'm still kind of shocked that it had to go down like that. I'm just kind of confused. I was so confused. You know what I mean? Because it's like there's loads of DC fans out there, right? And loads of people that are familiar with DC characters, some more so than Marvel characters. So the fact that it's kind of like underperforming, I'm just kind of like, wow, like what, what's like what, like maybe people have been burnt. Maybe people got burnt by Man of Steel and BVS and the Suicide Squad, and were like, fuck this, I'm not going to go see another one of those movies. But it's I think the time of year that we're in, it should have been easy for them to make some cash because it's pre Star Wars, right? We're a month, like just over a month away from Star Wars when it came out, or just under, and it's not been able to. Maybe it's been sandwiched between too many big films, and obviously when we're recording this, it's the day after Thanksgiving, so yeah, Thanksgiving coming up as well. Maybe people are more concerned with other shit going on, like what other movies they're going to do. I don't think they should do Flashpoint Paradox, but I think they're going to do Flashpoint Paradox. And what Rich was saying earlier about them using that to reboot, I say reboot, yeah, technically reboot and kind of change things a little. That could actually be a good idea, but still, it's like it seems like it's a bit too early for that. I think you'd want to build for it. I think a lot of the movies will go ahead, but I think the one I'd be most interested to see would be Justice League 2, just because of the post-credit scene where essentially we're told the Legion of Doom is coming. So it'll be interesting to see what they did with that and where they went with it. But I don't know, man. It's kind of a leaky boat at the moment, to be honest. And like, if I was any of them, I'd be jumping ship like Affleck.
Rich, do you want to have the last word on where kind of DC, EU, and where Warner Brothers are going with this and how they should be doing it? Feel free to go.
Yeah. You know how I always try and sit down and try and see how things can be done, and like whenever I hear like castings and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, maybe they should do this, maybe they should do that. I look at the DCEU franchise, and to be honest, I don't know how it can be rebooted, even if they were to do it through one of the characters. And I mean, the consensus is that the Flash character is somebody who's been received quite well in a Justice League film, so that's actually okay. But the thing that we have learnt is that, especially when it comes to these type of characters that people love, we don't like reboots, especially if reboots come too early. We saw that clearly with the Batman franchise. I mean, that wasn't even as bad, and take into account the period that we were in then. But then look at the Spider-Man series when Andrew Garfield took over. That was
But that I mean, made money though.
No. Yeah, it's still made money, but what I'm trying to say is that, but they weren't well received. I mean, I actually don't mind the first one, but you know what I mean. But the consensus was that, well, you know what, XYZ. We remember, like we said, it still made money. When we saw the Justice League trailer, we were like, this just looks like a fucking music video of cosplayers. But all three of us still went to go and pay money to go see the film. So it doesn't matter whether it made money. Is what happens after, initially, when people start to make up their mind what they want and what they don't want. I personally think that the mistake that they have made, and I've said it before, is that they're not selling characters. They're selling brands. When you look at the posters for Justice League, and they had like, I think there was a poster where it just showed the symbols of people. They're selling brands. They're not selling the comic book characters for us to want to believe in, or want to like, or want to hate. And this is a problem that they're having, and I don't see how they're going to be able to rectify that when they've already portrayed everybody on screen, because now you're going to have to stick somewhat to how those characters have been portrayed. And the reason why I'm saying this is, like, we've just had a conversation not too long ago, literally in this podcast, about Batman acting different to the last film that we saw him in. So how are you going to rectify that? Yeah. So to me, it is a big problem that they've actually given themselves, of wanting to be different to Marvel, and maybe to try and try to make as much money as possible in this genre, which could go on for another 20 years or could fold in the next 2 years. We don't know. And so that just shows you maybe how much the company is just after money. That's number one. Number two, maybe the reason why it underperformed as well is, don't forget, Joss Whedon came in along and did reshoots. Yeah. Joss Whedon, the last thing that he did was that he's associated with Marvel. So so like we all know how fanboys can be. Fanboys can be fickle and can be more petty than than the pettiest person on earth. Like, so maybe that had a hand in it. We've already had a petition about people saying, you know what, we want a Zack Snyder edit of Justice League. Zack Snyder has his fans, but when Batman vs Superman was getting lambasted, people, people look at Zack Snyder the same way that people looked at Joss Whedon when Joss Whedon did the Avengers. So that could be another reason why it underperformed. It's so many different things, but to me, whenever I look at the reason why it's underperformed, it's stuff that could have been avoided by the studio itself, and I don't know how they're going to get out of it, because it feels like they're still just digging holes, like digging a deeper hole. You're going to recast Batman with Jake Gyllenhaal. It could be a good move, really, but come on, man, like it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. Well, I hope that wasn't too much of a downer for you listeners. But you know how we do here at Rule Long Talks, man. We're raw and we're honest, and we'll give you our opinions on things. And sometimes, unfortunately, those opinions can be negative, but it is what it is, man. You gotta just take it with a pinch of salt, and let us know what you thought of the movie as well, of Justice League. It'd be interesting to hear some different opinions, and to see if people liked the movie overall and want more of that kind of thing, or whether you're of the mindset of some of us, of that maybe it's time they just pull the plug and start again. But yeah, get in touch. You can contact us via email. You can reach us at wulongtalkspodcast@gmail.com, and you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Wulong Talks as well. So just check those out. And as I said, yeah, we'll be happy to hear from you if you got an opinion. But yeah, let's move on, guys, and wrap this thing up. But before we do that, actually, we're going to have a bit of fun, listeners, as well. We're going to do a fan casting, which is something that we've not actually tried before on the show, but we kind of do it all the time outside and when we're talking socially. But we thought it might be fun for you guys to hear a fan casting. So Rich came up with the idea of doing a fan casting for a remake of Big Trouble in Little China. Now, there has been plans for a remake of this movie for some time. I think they've been floating the idea of remaking it for about 4 or 5 years now. But nothing really has happened so far as we know. So it would be interesting, I think, to kind of dig into it and see like who would cast and where. And if you're a fan of that movie as well, let us know. Well, first of all, if you're like me and you don't want to see a remake full stop, but also who you would cast if you were recasting that movie and you were doing a remake. Let us know who you'd have. But let's get into it, boys. So let's start at the top. Jack Burton. Now, The Rock's name has been mentioned as somebody who potentially could be playing him in the remake if the remake goes ahead. What do you think about The Rock as Jack Burton? Alvin?
Look, I like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, yeah. But I just don't... I mean, Big Trouble, like, it's a film that I saw when I was a kid, yeah. I didn't watch it that much, like, as a teen or anything like that. So it's like, my memories of it are watching something that's quite adult, you know what I mean, that I probably shouldn't have been watching or whatever. But I just don't think you can beat, like, Kurt Russell's mullet, you know what I mean? I just think that is the movie. Like, if you remake it, I mean, I don't know. I think it'll just be The Rock being The Rock. You know what I mean? And people seem to like that, so just let The Rock be The Rock in it.
Rich, how about you, man? You happy with The Rock as Jack Burton?
Listen, that was actually my choice. I generally feel that the reason why The Rock would work is, like you said, is just The Rock being The Rock. The Rock is someone, like, he's one of those action stars who's fully aware of what and who he is, and I think that works perfect for him. And I think some of the roles that he has played, that he has like done quite well at, is that when he does play against that whole thing of like, oh shit, I don't even know what's even happening. And I think he'd be able to capture that Jack Burton essence that Kurt Russell brought to the role, like, easily. I mean, minus the mullet, he doesn't need the mullet. So I think I think he'd be perfect. Apparently, I just looked in a Cosmic Cube and I read that in another universe, instead of The Rock being cast as Jack Burton, it's fucking Tyrese. Now, wouldn't that be a fucking kicker, bro?
You're bad, man.
Well, he's got to pay his child support bills, isn't he? So, boy.
What more do you want from me? So I think the Rock would be perfect because he just knows what he is, and he's a good actor as well. I've seen him when he's acted good. He's acted good. I'm not sure that sentence even made sense, but yeah.
Yeah, we get you, man. All right, so The Rock as Jack Burton. I think there's a bit of a consensus between the three of us on that one. Even though Alvin wasn't that committal, but that's fine.
I won't go see it.
No, but I understand a bit what you mean in a sense that I kind of feel that there is a danger of The Rock being overexposed. It does feel like he's kind of, anytime there's a big franchise, it's always his name that's mentioned and he's in there. Whilst I agree with you, Rich, he's improved tremendously as an actor. I do worry a little bit that he's kind of stretching himself too thin here, but as you said, he kind of knows what his strengths are and what aren't, and as long as I guess the script is kind of tailored towards that, then he should be able to pull off a fun Jack Burton. Let's see. We won't do the entire cast because we'll be here all night otherwise, and we ain't got much time, and we know you ain't got much time. So we'll just kind of go through the key characters here. So Gracie Law, originally played by Kim Cattrall. Who would you guys have for Gracie Law? Rich Kid?
Hey. You start. That would have before I need to think. Listen, that girl, that woman. Sorry, that girl. What am I? That woman in that film, her and what's his name's girlfriend. Listen, I don't even know who I would even chosen because I was in love with both of them. So I need to sit down and think hard about who I would choose. So come to me after.
Okay. I'd probably go Jennifer Lawrence, maybe. Yeah, maybe Jennifer Lawrence. I just think Jennifer Lawrence kind of has that same spirit that Kim Cattrall kind of brought to the character of Gracie Law. I think Jennifer Lawrence has that within her. She won't come cheap, but boy, we're fan casting, so why not? I'd stick her in there. Alf, you agree, or do you have any other options?
You know what? I think it would have to be someone who had I don't even know as to how you could cast that kind of role like that these days, because damsels in distress and that certain people complain about. So I think you'd have to change the character up a little bit in some shape or form or whatever. But I don't know, man. There's plenty of options, but it's just tying it down to one. I'm just I don't know who would want it. I don't know who I've not seen enough of and who I want to see more of. Yeah. You know what I mean? In order for them to get that role, or to be portrayed in that role, or whatever, or to portray that role even. So I don't know. I think you got a lot of options. You definitely got a lot of options there, but I don't know, man. But I wouldn't pick Jennifer Lawrence.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. Well, let's move on because we are running out of time. Rich, did you have any thoughts? Anybody?
You know what? I didn't think of anybody, but I do understand the reason why you would pick someone like Jennifer Lawrence. She very much has, like you said, that spirit. That even though she's a damsel in distress, essentially she is smarter than the main hero, and it does remind me a bit of how Margot Kidder portrayed Lois Lane in the Superman films, and Kim Cattrall portrays the reporter in Big Trouble in Little China. They're not just women damsels in distress. They've got that that person that they'll be captured by a villain and they'd spit in the face and rather give up where the base is and stuff like that. So I do understand what it is, but I can't imagine her kissing The Rock. As much as The Rock looks good for his age, it'd just be like a granddad, or like a dad kissing his daughter if he ends up kissing Jennifer Lawrence. So that kind of threw me off.
Fair enough. Okay, how about Wen Chi? When we were talking about this earlier, I mentioned God, I've forgotten his name now. Daniel Wu. Daniel Wu from Into the Badlands.
Yeah.
I think he could make quite a good Wang Chi. Agree? Or
I like that. Yeah, because he's Asian.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, it's not
The
just that. I
only-
mean, I think he.
I'm joking.
Yeah. I know you're joking, but I think he again, I've not seen a lot of Into the Badlands, but what I've seen of it from him, he gives me the sense that he's quite an interesting actor. In that there's, he's capable of pulling off the subtleties as well as the physical stuff, obviously the martial arts and things like that. And I think I get the feeling there's a sense of humor to him as well as a man that probably hasn't been tapped quite for the roles that he's done so far. But I get the feeling if you give him, a good adaptation of that movie, that gives him a chance to have a few comedic moments as Dennis Dunn had in the original, then I think he could pull it off. So yeah, I think he'd be a good choice for Wen-Chi for me. So yeah, I'm down with that. Let's see the villain.
I heard that in that universe where Tyrese is playing Jack Burton, the person who plays Wen-Chi is Finn Jones. I don't know. I just admit it's just a rumor I heard, man. It's just a rumor I heard. Like, true stories, man. I got a good source.
just skip into the beat of the city. Oh my god, what a prick!
We're gonna run into him. He's gonna bust our heads. He's gonna bust our heads with his fake martial arts. I'm shook. We should stop it. We should stop.
I'll tell you exactly what's gonna happen. He's gonna throw a punch, and it's gonna look so fake and so staged. We're gonna see it coming 15 minutes before he's actually had the thought that he's gonna throw a punch, and then we're gonna trip him up and beat him up.
Oh man.
Oh god. Yeah, we love Finn Jones here, everybody. Okay, so we've got to do these last two super quick because we're really pushing it for time. But so the main villain, Lo Pan, was originally played by James Hong. You know who I'd want?
Who?
I'd want Uncle Chow. Because he doesn't get to play villains too often. Yeah. And when he does them, he actually does them quite well. He did one in Pirates of the Caribbean 3, I think it was.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
In fact, he was probably the only good thing about that Pirates of the Caribbean film was him.
Oh, you mean Chow Yun-fat?
Yes, Chow Yun-fat.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He's Uncle Chow, Alf. Uncle Chow.
Yeah.
Is that why you called him Uncle Chow? Okay.
No, that's his name. His name's Uncle Chow. Like his nickname's Uncle Chow. Same way like Clint Eastwood, his nickname is R Man Clint. Have you never heard that? No, it's true, bruv. R Man Clint. That's his name. That's his nickname, bruv. Yeah.
I don't know him personally, innit? So
we're gonna get sued, man. We're gonna get sued. But yeah, no.
I would choose. Oh, Chow Yun-fat. I would choose Daniel Henney. I would choose Daniel Henney to play Lo Pan, just because.
Daniel Henney. Sorry, remind me.
Daniel Henney is Agent X in Wolverine Origins.
Yes.
Oh
so,
yeah, and I mean. Yeah, so
is it Agent X or Agent Zero?
I think it's Agent Zero, isn't it?
Agent Zero, sorry, Agent Zero, yeah. And he is a decent character. I've seen him in quite a few like Chinese and Japanese films, or Chinese films, should I say? And he's a good actor. And I would like the fact that the whole character of Lo Pan is that, there's almost a certain amount of vanity to him with this power that he has. So obviously, when he becomes young, by draining the force of whatever, he would be this good-looking guy, who's buff and he's this and he's that, but also be a bit of a bastard. So I think that's something that they could work on. And obviously, I think when he gets his power and he does become younger, and he looks a certain way physically, that would be a nice opposite to the person who we're gonna cast as Egg Fu. So because obviously they've had an ongoing battle, and even though they've both fed off the worse for wear, when one does get the upper hand, it works physically. So I think that's something that could be played upon.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that, man. Left field. I like that. All right, let's get to the last one before we run out of time. So the last character, Egg Shen, Richard mentioned. Originally played by Victor Wong. We were talking about this earlier. We both agree with this, Alvin, so it's up to you to disagree. But we would like to see Jackie Chan play Egg Shen. Rich, do you want to explain why quickly?
Just for the simple fact that I think number one, it'd give Jackie Chan a chance to act, and to act somebody whose age. Like, I mean, the thing is, I think probably one of Jackie Chan's best roles, and I'm not even talking about the stuff that he's done in the States. So like Rush Hour is good for what it is, but one of the best roles that he's done, Drunken Master, The Karate Kid,
Mm.
that role that he played,
One.
perfect, spot on, spot on. And like it gave him a chance to flex his acting chops, and it gave him a chance to somewhat act his age. So I think that's something that they'd be able to capitalize on in this, where we know that Jackie Chan is, you know, amazing fighter and he's this and he's that, but he's of a certain age that he can't do what he used to be able to do, and that's the reason why I would go with the choice for Daniel Henney. Is it Daniel Henney? Yeah, Daniel Henney to be the villain. So basically, you know, when one's depowered, they're both kind of like on the same type of level, but when one's younger, then you know, then there's a difference. There's obviously going to be a slight difference as to how they're going to be able to react like physically, and I think it'll just be a nice option or a nice chance to see Jackie just do what he can do. And the reason why I was thinking of this is that earlier on, me and Jason were talking about westerns, and there is a slight western influence if you watch the original Big Trouble in Little China, and it's the whole thing of like Clint Eastwood acting his age. Yes, he can still fire a gun and he's still a badass, but there's, you know, you're never going to be as fast as you were. You're never going to be as strong as you were, and so you have to play to your advantage. Jackie was able to do when he was in the Karate Kid, where essentially he took on the role of the drunken master that was played by, you know, by Sam Seed, and so it's almost like the student becomes the teacher. So I'd like to see him in a role where he just plays to his strengths and stuff, still trying to, you know, not live this lie, but still try and prove himself to people that some of them haven't even seen his best work when he was younger. So yeah, that's the reason why I'll choose Jackie.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people like have got a lot of hate for that Karate Kid remake, but I don't mind it. I mean, I don't know whether it's because of Jaden's in it or whatever, and they just hate Jaden, so they hate the movie. But I actually think the movie's not bad.
Yeah.
Why is it called
I didn't mind
Karate
it. I didn't mind it
Kid,
at all.
Why is it called Karate Kid?
Well, yeah, because he doesn't learn karate, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Like,
Yeah, but that really fucks me off. That really pisses me off. It's like calling a film Space Adventure, but it takes place on Earth.
yeah. I hear the point, but I still think the movie itself is not the train wreck that some people want to make out that it is.
No,
and I
it's
think,
not.
and part of that is because of, as Richard perfectly summed up, is because of Jackie Chan and his performance. Like, I think he shocked a lot of people. So yeah, I think he's a good choice for Egg Shen for me. Alf, you having some Jackie for Egg Shen?
Yeah, I like seeing Jackie, man. I like him. I like the fact that he wants to flex his like proper acting chops and that. And as he gets older, I think he'll probably get more opportunities to do it. Like, well, hopefully he does anyway, because like he's pretty much world famous. So yeah, I think like Hollywood needs to like pay him a bit more attention and see how they can put him in things whereby, like, you know what, I'd want to see him as like, you know, when you see fucking like a Bourne, sorry, swearing again. You know, when you see a Bourne film and like there's that old guy who's like head of whatever team and blah blah, and everyone calls, I'd like to see him do that, but be a Chinese one of those in a movie. For some reason, I just want to see him like be serious and be ahead of something, and for people to come to him and like he's managing this team and blah blah. But I'd like to see him do something like that for some reason. I don't know. I've got that in my head, but it's just because it'll be so far away from his kind of like kung fu comedy that like obviously he's known for doing back in the day and that. And yeah, just give him a chance to like do something like really serious and that. So yeah, I could see him do that role in Big Trouble in Little China as well. Just because I think it could be quite comedic, and I think it'd have a lot of fun with it as well at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, thanks a lot, boys. And listeners, thanks a lot for joining us on this episode. Let us know what you thought of the Big Trouble in Little China fan casting, and if you have any kind of ideas and different people that you want to see in the movie, then as I said, get in touch with us on social media and let us know. And also, if you want us to do another fan casting, because this was kind of fun. So yeah, if you've got any ideas for movies that you want us to fan cast, just get in touch. You can get in touch with us via email at wulongtalkspodcast@gmail.com. So just pop that in and send us an email. Or if you want to find us on social media, you can find us at Wulong Talks on Twitter, at Wulong Talks on Instagram, and Wulong Talks Podcast on Facebook. So pop to any of those and drop us a line. And as I said, we love to hear from you, man. We love hearing from our listeners. So let us know what you thought of the show and everything else. Before we go, I'd just like to say as well that, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we've actually joined a new collective, which is called the Britpod Scene. What the collective is about is basically a group of podcasters, all from the UK, who've all come together to kind of, I guess, work as one and kind of help to spread the word about all the things that we're doing and to reach out to you listeners as well. There's some fantastic podcasts on that collective as well. Really, really good ones. I've checked out a few already. So go ahead and check them out. You can find them on Twitter. If you type in Britpod Scene on Twitter, you'll that should bring up the Twitter page, and then that will bring up the list for you. But you can also track them down on Facebook too. And a special shout out and thanks as well to the Rough Giraffe podcast and Theme Park Films podcast as well for inviting us to join. Thank you very much for that. We haven't had an opportunity to meet everybody in the collective yet because there's a lot of people there. There's about 80 different podcasts on there. But everybody as well who said hello and said hi, thank you. Thank you for making us feel welcome. We really appreciate it. And going forward, hopefully there's a lot more developments to come for you listeners with regards to what happens with Britpod Scene as well. So we'll let you know in due course how things go with that. But that's it. Yeah, let's wrap the show up. Don't forget, listeners as well, please make sure you check out our shows on iTunes, and they're available on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Acast as well. I'm still kind of toying with the idea of moving to Spreaker at some point. If you are somebody who uses Spreaker and rates it, let us know. That's something we may explore going forward next year as well. And lastly, make sure you say happy birthday to Rich Reviews. Rich, tell them where they can find you so they can say happy birthday to you.
Rich Reviews on Instagram. Is it Rich Reviews? Yeah, listen, I've got memory loss. Is it Rich Reviews 266 or is it just Rich
you're old,
Reviews?
innit?
It is. It's like, look at that. That shit happened
Hey,
quick, bro.
catching up, man. Catching up, creeping up on you, mate. Time.
Yeah. Rich Reviews 266 on Instagram. And also, sorry, Jason didn't mention, but if you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, man. Just there, just click it. It's take you 2 seconds. Is I'm sure we're entertaining you better than Justice League. Why not? Meet us every week. So Rich Reviews on Instagram. On the also Wulong Talks on Instagram, www.wulongtalks.com. We've got the blog there as well. And yeah, that's pretty much me.
Cool. And Alf, where can people find you at? And is there anything new going on with the channel? No.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BigA85GL. If you want to follow me on YouTube as well, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Big A the Mank Geek. And yeah, if you want to check out my videos and sub, that's up to you. And I'd greatly appreciate it if you do.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks a lot, listeners, for joining us on this episode. I know this one has run a little bit longer, but it is what it is, man. We had to delve deep into the mire that is Justice League. And we couldn't have done it justice if we didn't. So thank you for sticking around and listening a little longer than you usually would. We're going to say goodnight now. So boys, say goodnight. Alvin, say goodnight.
Good night.
Richie, say goodnight.
Good night.
And it's good night from me, folks. So we'll catch you next week, hopefully, with another podcast. Oh, and keep them peeled as well, because I'll have another movie review podcast coming out shortly. So keep them peeled for that. Take it easy, people. We'll see you soon. Peace.